Hey everyone, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and in today's video, unfortunately, we are going to get a little bit negative. So if you've been following the channel, you know that I recently just posted my top 10 4K and Blu-ray releases of 2021, and that's something I've been doing for the last couple of years as I keep track of what I thought were the best releases of the year. But in this video, what I'm going to do is something I haven't done in a long time, and that is highlight some of the worst releases of the year. Now, I do have a video out there called the top 10 4K Blu-rays to avoid. That's been pretty popular. I'll throw that link in the description if you want to check that out. There were a few transfers I was disappointed or, underwhelmed by, but for the most part, there weren't too many that I would say, oh my God, just don't even touch it. A lot of it was pretty good, or maybe it just wasn't a huge upgrade, but they weren't terrible discs. And so it was really hard to come up with 10 of the worst discs after 1 year, because I don't think there were that many bad discs. So what I did instead was I picked 5 categories. I have the worst 4K transfer, the worst audio, the worst box set, the worst packaging, and the worst artwork and design of sets or individual releases from this year. So there's 5 to highlight here, and so I will also cover at the end what I think is the worst overall release of the year. And that isn't just audio visual quality, but was it lacking in packaging, special features? What was the worst set this year or worst individual release that was really a huge letdown for collectors and physical media enthusiasts? Now, while we're getting a little bit negative today, I want to say that there's still plenty of positive out there. Check the link down in my description because I have started a survey where I am nominating 5 or 6 different titles for many different categories and doing what I call the first annual Films at Home Physical Media Awards. I nominated a few in each category and I'm letting you guys vote. So there's a Google Forms link in the description. Hundreds of you have already filled it out and have voted on it, but go check that out. I don't need any information, just vote, submit it one time, and on January 2nd, I'm going to tally all those results after the new year, and we're going to do a little bit of an award show for the good stuff. So while we're going to talk worst here, let's definitely still focus on the positives, and if you can fill out that survey, that would be awesome, because the more votes we get, the more the community can be heard, and the more kind of clout I think we have behind those awards. So I appreciate you guys filling that out. And now let's jump right into this worst of list. So to kick things off, I'm going to start with the worst 4K transfer of the year. And this is purely visual, the worst 4K visual experience, the worst 4K disc in terms of how it looked on your screen. And I'm sticking with Inglourious Basterds for this. This movie was a huge letdown, from the fact that it didn't get a new 4K scan to the fact that the HDR was basically just looked like an Instagram filter on the movie. It added absolutely nothing. The Blu-ray actually looked better in terms of detail and color in many instances, and this release just really added nothing to the 4K experience. And I think it's still 50-50. I'd say half of this looks better on Blu-ray, half of it looks good on the 4K, but if you have to go back and forth like that, it's just not worth picking this disc up. And clearly this has been evidenced by the fact that the disc is already going on sale for $10. Usually don't see a high profile title like this drop that quickly, although Terminator 2 did the same thing, which is notoriously known as the worst 4K disc of all time. And so Inglourious Basterds is one that I totally would avoid. There was no Tarantino involvement here. He wasn't involved. They didn't do a new remaster. It was color graded by who knows what, or what's AI, or who did it. We have no idea. There were really no details behind this release. It felt like a total cash grab from Universal. It was extremely lazy. It doesn't really have any special features. All the bonuses were on the Blu-ray already, and so you're really adding nothing with this release. And it is easily now number 2 on my list of all-time worst 4K transfers, right behind Terminator 2. This was the biggest letdown of the year because I was so excited to get more Tarantino movies on 4K, and hopefully the rest of them look a lot better than this, because this disc was an absolute dud. I'm hoping that somebody like an Arrow Video can step in and redo this. It was rumored they were going to do it to begin with. I think they would have done it right, and I think that Universal saw the hype around that potential release and took the rights back to themselves. That sucks, and I hope that it gets remedied in the future, but for now, Inglourious Basterds was the biggest 4K visual letdown of 2021. So now for the worst audio, I've picked a sort of an interesting release, and I picked this for worst audio not because the audio on it completely sucked, but because the audio was screwed up and required replacement disc, and I think the studio kind of is handling that a bit poorly and didn't make a very good response to the issues with the set and the disc. And that is the Mad Max anthology. So the first Mad Max movie and Mad Max Fury Road, which are included in here, they're totally fine. But the Road Warrior and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, they had audio issues. So there were some issues with both of those movies as it comes down to audio. It gets very technical, but basically I've heard that the Dolby Atmos track might be okay, but that if you do have a 5.1 or a 7.1, which is still, you know, honestly a good chunk of consumers out there, that they basically just downsampled it and didn't do a true 5.1 or 7.1 track. They kind of got lazy with that audio. And it makes me question, you know, how good is the Atmos track actually? Was that also just maybe a lazy upscale of a previous 5.1? Did they really put any effort into supposed Atmos? And that was a major reason why this is the worst audio release of the year, because usually we have issues with like 4K visuals, or maybe there's a missing audio track, but usually the track itself isn't as screwed up as these two were. The other reason I'm putting this on the list is because Warner Brothers was honestly really slow with their response. I tried reaching out, I didn't get a response for a little bit, I finally did, but they kind of played it under the radar. Like they were basically, they pulled them off of shelves. So people were like, oh, what happened to this release? So they just started pulling them off shelves, pulling them out of stock on online retailers. And then they said, oh, well, if you did buy one, we'll give you a replacement, but those are going to be out till February. And if it wasn't for like channels like myself or other social media accounts that get those emails and spread the word, like I still think the average consumer doesn't know. Somebody may be picking this up off of eBay or Amazon and not know, or have bought it as a Christmas gift back in October, November, pre-ordered it, and have no idea that they actually have an issue with the audio that won't get resolved because they don't know that there's a replacement disc program. So it just wasn't very well circulated. It was kind of pushed under the rug. And when there's serious audio issues like this, I appreciate that they pulled copies off of the shelf. But like me, I got one early and I'm still waiting on replacement discs, hence why I haven't reviewed these yet, because I don't feel like it's a fair review until I get the real disc. And it's just been kind of a mess to figure out when we're actually going to get those and how to go about getting a replacement. So it took a long time. It was a very slow response to a clear audio issue, and I just wasn't happy with that fact. And it was a high profile release. Mad Max is a big franchise, should have been better. Another QA issue, but that's what ends up on the list here, and that's what gets you the worst audio release of the year. So now for worst packaging. There were a couple of options I could have chosen for this, but this was a fairly recent one, and it was one that really got under my skin, especially coming from some studio, or a distributor I should say, who knows better. And that is the Criterion release of Citizen Kane. Now, first of all, the artwork is whatever. It's the big, you know, the K for Citizen Kane, and that's fine. But the packaging, first of all, this drives me nuts. Why not just do a typical digibook or a digipack? Instead, we've got to fold out 4 different pieces. And then the booklet is just loose hanging in here. And then, of course, you got the 2 discs. Of course, one that I've already wrecked because they made me send it back. And then you've got cardboard sleeves. So strike one for this fold job, because you got to like hold the booklet in place and then make sure you're going in the right order. E, N, A, K. Okay, now I've got it back together. The booklet can fall out. It's not a great release from that standpoint. But the bigger issue, and I'll show you this once I take the booklet out, is that you can't get the 4K disc out. If you go to slide this, you can see I can't slide it out of the case. It's hitting this raised section in the middle. So you have to sort of like bend it back and then fold it out. If you just try to slide it, you're not getting that disc out. You always have to bend back the case and do this. And then you're scratching the disc as well. So it's just a total mess. I don't know how that got past anybody who would have looked at this for 2 seconds. And that doesn't even put it on, you know, there's this whole fact, and this whole folding thing drives me nuts. The slipcover release, it's just kind of like overdone. We don't need to fold it out 4 times. The slipcover honestly doesn't fit it that great. I would have loved to just see them do it like they usually do, with a little bit of a slip box and a digipack on the inside with a hard plastic case that can hold the disc. For a release of this caliber, especially when they were promoting pretty heavily as their new 4K line launched, I would have expected a lot more from Criterion, a lot more for a title like Citizen Kane, and I was severely disappointed. Now, add on to the fact that you had to take the Blu-ray disc out of this because it had QA issues and literally destroy it, that they wouldn't just send you a replacement disc. They wanted you to literally, like, I took a hammer to mine and destroyed the disc. And you either had to do that or send it back to them in an envelope. And granted, they're giving everyone $10 gift cards with the replacement disc, but why not just process replacements and with a proof of purchase? Like, they made people kind of jump through hoops to get their replacement. It took extra effort, and that should never be on the collector. It should always be on the company who made the mistake. So poor packaging, poor QA, obviously poor QA on the discs and on the packaging, and the way everything came together makes this release easily the winner for worst packaging of the year. Now, next up, I've got the winner for worst box set, or should I say loser? I guess they're a winner, but it's a negative award. So they are a winner, like the Razzies. They're winners. Adam Sandler has plenty of them. So the winner for best box set, this could have been a couple of different things, but I was thinking about this category strictly as the box set itself, not, packaging and everything else that comes with it, but strictly what were the contents of that set. And for that reason, I decided to go with the Paramount release of Star Trek on 4K. And while these are actually pretty decent looking discs, I went with this for a couple of reasons. First off, every other Star Trek box set that they've put out in the past has the original 6 films. They kind of cut some corners here. They only went with the original 4, and now you're obviously going to have to buy the next 2, or worst case scenario, Paramount puts out another set with all 6 when they complete number 5 and number 6, and you have to buy them all over again and try to sell this release. So I thought that part of it was really odd. You know what? Those 6 are grouped together. Sell those 6 as a group like you always have in the past, or wait until those transfers are completed. The other issue is this is $50, right? And they give you all the movies on 4K. That's nice. But why? Why did they feel the need to throw in all the movies on Blu-ray? It doesn't add anything to the set. It really just makes for probably what should have been a cheaper set, more expensive because you're paying for all the Blu-ray discs. And I would guarantee you that the majority of Star Trek collectors out there and people who would be buying this set already have the original 4 and most likely the original 6 movies on Blu-ray already. So it would have been nice to see them toss that out, cut some costs a little bit, and spend that money that they use to manufacture these Blu-ray discs, and just put in number 5 and number 6 and put a complete box set out. So this would be like putting out, Star Wars episodes 1 through 4 and leaving out episode 5 and 6. It just doesn't make sense. These 6 movies go together. They're usually sold as a set. That's sort of the original cast and crew. It makes no sense that they did this, and it definitely felt like a money grab, which I don't like. It felt like a little bit of a rushed release, a little bit lazy, and obviously it's going to require either another purchase of the 2 4K movies that are outstanding, or potentially another box set with all 6 of them, which is really annoying for anybody who bought these first 4. So for that reason, I thought it was the worst box set of the year, because simply it's missing materials that I think would have completed a box set, and I consider this one to be or incomplete, and just not exactly what collectors wanted, and not one that I really would recommend buying, because you should wait for the larger set that includes all 6 of those original movies. So that was worst box set, and now next up we have worst artwork and design, which does play into packaging a little bit, but more about how this release looks, the shelf appeal of it. Is the artwork nice? And there have been plenty of great releases this year with amazing custom artwork, like the Halloween set from Shout Factory. Some of the Arrow video releases like Dune had incredible artwork. Like, there are really good Shout Factory slipcovers, Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, Blue Underground. There's really cool artwork happening and design happening everywhere. But the one I thought was the worst by far is, unfortunately, the Indiana Jones 4-movie 4K collection. First of all, this is a premium franchise. This is one of the most well-known movies in the world. I expected more from a steelbook set, but instead we got this really cheap, flimsy cardboard. You can see mine is already bowed, and it's like coming apart. And then the steelbooks themselves are held together by just these flimsy little cardboard pieces right here. Like, A Rambo 4K Steelbook set came out a few years ago, or last year actually. It had nice protective padding, foam padding in between, a hard metal exterior. They really went all out, and that was a beautiful set. Could have done the same here, cut corners, and I don't know why. And then the artwork, I just don't understand. It's all white. It's a really, really weird style choice. Even the Steelbooks, they're all just this white Steelbook, and I typically like a white Steelbook design like that, but because I think they look really clean. But this is Indiana Jones. There's so much great artwork you could use for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you just kind of use this lazy artwork and then, you know, the arc on the back. Like, you know, give us some more. It's so much wasted space. It's almost a blank white, and then even the case itself, it's like there's so much white space. Give us a cool design. Give us something more. Really, you know, bring in an artist who wants to go all out on this and really pay attention to the franchise and the different themes from each movie. Like, how cool could a proper Temple of Doom Steelbook been? And this is what we get. Like, how lame is that? That is so lame, considering that movie and all the themes in it, and all the color and the red uniforms and the skulls and everything. Like, come on, we got hearts being ripped out of people's chests, and that's the artwork you give me? It just doesn't live up to the movies. And the fact that it comes in this cheap, flimsy packaging is really, really poor design, really poor artwork, and for that reason, it is my least favorite set of the year, and I would not recommend anybody buy this Steelbook set. Definitely go with the standard release and save your money. And so last one, the big winner here. This is like the Best Picture award. This is the worst overall release. So when I talk about worst overall release, again, not audio and visual so much as the anticipation, the hype that was around a release, the total package, packaging, special features, extras, how much it costs, like all of that plays into it. And really what I was looking for here was, what was the most underwhelming release, the most disappointing release we had this year? And Inglourious Basterds certainly could have fit in that spot. And there were a few other contenders as well. But when I thought about the most underwhelming release, there was one clear choice. And for me, that was the Middle-earth Collector's Edition. And I say Collector's Edition in quotes, Collector's Edition, because there's nothing collectible about this. All this set gives you is a 64-page booklet with costume sketches and photography. Okay, that's nice. One Blu-ray bonus disc. The Ultimate Collector's Edition has one Blu-ray bonus disc with 2 features on it, both of which you can find on YouTube, no problem. And then it gives you all the 4K movies in their own individual slipcovers, and no special features, although it does have extended editions. The reason this is so underwhelming is because so many people held out to buy this and didn't buy the previously released trilogies of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. What this set essentially is for a lot more money, all they did was individually package all 6 of the movies and add one Blu-ray bonus disc and a little booklet with some pictures. That's it. There's no collectible. There was supposed to be like a collectible ring. I think that only came out in the UK and they canceled it for the US. There's no little statue or figurine that goes with it. The packaging is just a very basic box set. It does some cool stuff. It's kind of unique that you could, fold it and it's magnetic. And I'll show you a little bit of like what you can do with it. Like, okay, you can do this or you can do that, or you can open the whole thing up and, oh, okay, yeah, really, that's cool. That's unique. Haven't seen people do that, but at the end of the day, this is a 31 disc set, an Ultimate Collector's Edition that has 0 special features and really 0 reason to buy this other than, I guess, just wanting the individual releases in their own slipcover versions versus being in a box set. But it was a total waste of time. People were upset that the special features didn't come with the other 4K discs, and then we got this and it was a total letdown. This should have been like a 30 disc, or I guess it would have had to have been like a 40 disc set, but with like 10 discs worth of special features. There's so much behind the scenes on Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that they could have put in here. We could have added a replica figurine, because all this is truly is they took those 2 previously released 4K trilogies, put them in individual cases, and called it the Ultimate Edition and added next to nothing. And that was a huge disappointment and the biggest letdown of the year by far, which makes it the worst overall release and one that I cannot recommend to anybody. So that is it for the worst releases of the year. That gives you some ways, some ideas on what to avoid, what to stay away from, where to spend your money more wisely, what to skip, you know, especially when you're looking at box sets, collector's editions, steel books. Like, these were just not great overall releases. And, you know, I had complaints about them when I did original reviews on each of them, but unfortunately it was kind of a sloppy year for physical media. Like, there weren't a ton of bad discs that I could say, oh, I could take 10 of the worst discs from the year, but there were a lot of QA issues. There was a lot of kind of cheap packaging, funky packaging. Discs were not protected well. A lot of cardboard sleeves instead of hard plastic shells for these discs. A lot of stuff that I just didn't like to see. So I'm really, really hoping that next year is better. There's better quality assurance out there. There's better quality control. People are actually looking at the packaging. I mean, this is what happens when you don't involve collectors and your target audience in your market research, in your planning for these releases, because somebody like me would have looked at that Citizen Kane release from Criterion, and in 5 minutes I would have told you that's terrible packaging, I can't get the disc out, and the fold out thing is garbage, I hate that. These things would be noticed by 5 minutes by collectors, and they're just not getting us involved. So hopefully this video plus other videos I've made in the past about all the issues gets their asses in gear a little bit, because they need to have a better year next year all across the board. Distributors, boutique, major labels, the whole deal need to be better. So yeah, I'm gonna take a deep breath now. I'm gonna go like downstairs, have some dinner, and try to be more positive, because that was a really negative video, but you guys asked for it, and so I wanted to make it, and hopefully you enjoyed it and got some tips or know what to avoid now by watching this. So thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, make sure you subscribe and like this video. Also, make sure to follow us on social media. All the links will be down in the description, as well as plenty of other ways that you can support my channel through making purchases or going through different partners of mine. All those links are down there, and I appreciate all the support there. It's been a great year so far, and if I don't catch you guys on a video between now and the holidays, I hope you all have a great holiday season, a safe and happy holiday season, a good new year, and we're getting into 2022. Hopefully things are coming on the up and up, but keep staying safe, stay healthy out there, do the right thing, get your shots, wear your masks if you have to, keep other people safe and keep yourself safe. That's the worst thing I'd ever want to hear, is that somebody here watching the channel, you know, had an issue, got sick. We don't want any of that. So everyone, keep yourself safe and do the right thing. Have a great rest of the year, have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.